Hi there, this is Bob Yoho again. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. This morning we're going to talk about these films. The first film we're going to talk about is number 36, and that is from 1953, and is a film called Shane. This film was directed by George Stevens. It stars Alan Ladd as the lead character Shane, Jean Arthur, Van Heflin, Jack Palance, and Ben Johnson again, who we mentioned many times. Ben Johnson just seems to be a reoccurring character on a lot of these top Western films. Ben Johnson is just one of the most outstanding actors of our time. I think they would mostly call him a character actor, but I just think Ben Johnson just superb as an actor. But this film, Shane rides into town. He's a mysterious figure. He rides into this town, and he helps out a bunch of settlers that have moved in and settled up. But the land baron, the guy that owns the most land around there, doesn't want them there, and he does everything he can to get them out. And Shane stands up for the small rancher, the small farmer, and he stands up for him and takes their side. And the film also involves a young boy who comes to idolize this character of Shane. And this film is just it's one of the great films of all time. It just starts out from there. Jack Palance is in this, and Jack Palance plays an awful bad guy. This is one of the early films where Ben Johnson had a leading role. And he was just exceptional in this, and plays a man named Chris Calloway, who gets in the fight with Shane. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the difference in their heights, Alan Ladd was a very short man, and Ben Johnson was a lot taller than him. And I understand that during the fight scene, they had to do some things creatively with the filming, so it kind of hid the fact that he so overwhelmed Alan Ladd in size. But Ben Johnson, I'm thinking Alan Ladd, there isn't too many Hollywood actors of that time that could handle Ben Johnson, because Ben Johnson was a true cowboy. And he was a guy, he wrangled horses, and that started way back for John Ford years earlier. And so Ben Johnson was a tough guy. And anybody that got to better him in any kind of fight had been pretty tough. But Shane is just a great film. It was an inspiration for a film called Pale Rider that was done by Clint Eastwood in the 80s. And that film didn't make my top 50, but it would be right up there and with good ones. And I mean, I'm sure it's going to be it would definitely be in my top 100. And it kind of inspired the film Pale Rider at the time, which at the time Clint Eastwood made it, kind of brought back the Western into prominence again. But Shane was just an outstanding film. The book is well worth your time. It definitely something you ought to read. And so the first film on our list is number 36, Shane. Number 37 is a film from 1959 called The Last Train from Gun Hill. This film was directed by John Sturges. It stars Kirk Douglas as a sheriff named Matt Morgan. His friend is a man named Craig Belton, who's played by Anthony Quinn. The film starts out, Craig Belton's son, who is played by Earl Holliman, he rapes and kills Matt Morgan's Indian wife. And Morgan finds out about it, and he decides he's going to go he's going to punish the guy that killed his wife. He's going to capture him and bring him back to face trial. In a lot of ways, his Matt Morgan's single-handed determination and stubbornness about getting him is kind of reminiscent of the character played in Lawman by Burt Lancaster. And I think it's strangely similar. They're just singular-minded. They're absolutely devoted, obsessed even. driven to get the man, bring him back to trial. And that's what Matt Morgan is in this. And understandably so. His wife was killed. And Craig Belden is a rich rancher in this town. And he does everything he can to get Matt Morgan to back away. He tries to hide his son at first. When that won't work, then he tries to buy him off, tries to kill him, tries everything he can to get Matt Morgan to stop and not go after his son. And Morgan just does not know how to quit. And like I said, it's similar to that lawman in Burt Lancaster played in the film Lawman, who was one of my top 50. And it's just a great film. Earl Holliman's great in this. Bing Russell is also in this. If you're not familiar with Bing Russell, he's the father of Kurt Russell, who many of you will know, and has probably been in at least one of these I mentioned. Brad Dexter's in this, and he was also in the Magnificent Seven. Strangely enough, this film's directed by John Sturges, who also directed The Magnificent Seven and Gunfight at the OK Corral, which are two films that have been named among my top 50. John Sturges was this great director, and he picked some great films, and there's other films that I think are exceptional that aren't westerns that he's done. And I think Sturges, his films were really well done, and he was in some great ones. But this film is just an outstanding film. And it's a lawman, a driven lawman, determined to get justice for his dead wife. And it's just a fantastic film. And many of you may not be familiar with it, but you need to go look at it. Kirk Douglas was just excellent in this film, and you need to go check it out because it's well worth your time. You will thank me for seeing it. Last Train to Gun Hill. It's a dark film, but it's something you ought to see, and I hope you'll go check it out. Coming in at number 38 is a film that's rather recent. It's from 2017, and it's called Wind River. Wind River was directed by Taylor Sheridan, and if you're not familiar with the Taylor Sheridan, you should be, because he's the guy that produced Yellowstone and 1883 and 1923, these series, and so you ought to be familiar with Taylor Sheridan's work. But this, in my opinion, is one of the well, as I said, it's in my top 50 greatest Western films of all time. It's a modern day Western, and it takes place. Jeremy Renner is a wildlife officer who finds a young Indian girl raped and dead, and he begins to investigate what happened to her. He's familiar with her dad, familiar with her family, and he begins to investigate it. And he's joined in this investigation by Elizabeth Olsen, who is Jane Banner, an FBI agent. And the Gil Birmingham's in this. Kelsey Asble's in this too. If you don't know who she is, she played Monica Dutton in Yellowstone. So there's a lot of familiar characters. John Bernthal's in this. And so there's some great actors in this film. And this film starts out with a death, the rape and the death of a young Indian girl. And the search for her killers places Jeremy Renner, who playing Corey Lambert, a wildlife officer, and the FBI lady in danger. And their investigation in this turns up some dark and seedy things that happened out on the reservation. And this is just an outstanding film. And this is one of those kind that I would definitely go back to see again. I've only seen it once, but it was well worth sitting through. And if you get a chance to see it, you can probably find it at home. Well, movie theaters pretty well going out of sight now. But you can stream this one at home, and I believe it. It's a great film. It's there aren't a lot of modern day westerns that make my great top 50 western films of all time, but this one really is, and it's something you ought to see. Jeremy Renner was just great in this, and Elizabeth Olsen and Gil Birmingham. They were just superb in this film, and you will see some of what happened. A lot of the same characters that you see in this you'll see appearing in Taylor Sheridan's other programs, 1883 and 1923, in Yellowstone, and some of his other work. He's a little bit like John Ford in the fact that he keeps using some of the same people over and over again. He seems to have a crew of people he loves to work with in other series, and Wind River is just a super film, and you ought to check it out. I guarantee you'll like it. Film coming in at number 39 is a film from 1965, The Sons of Katie Elder. This film was directed by Henry Hathaway, who's a great director and has directed many great Western films and several that I've named. And it's just an outstanding film. John Wayne plays John Elder. Katie Elder dies, and John Elder returns to attend her funeral. His brothers are played by Dean Martin, who plays Tom Elder. Earl Holliman, once again, we mentioned, plays Matt Elder, and Michael Anderson Jr., who plays the brother Bud. And these four brothers attend their mom's funeral. And John, along the way, gets to wondering about what happened to his dad's ranch. Or, I'm sorry, the lawman played by Paul Fix, who is in a lot of Westerns, by the way. And he's been in a tremendous amount of Westerns. But he tells John Elder that his father was killed. I forget how they say he was killed, but they say his ranch was taken away. He lost it in the card game. And by John Elder looking into the death of his father and investigating it, and he opens a can of worms, and it just opens up there's a man named Hastings in town who runs the local business, is a wealthy man, and he now has John Elder's ranch. And the boys get together to try to investigate what happened to the ranch and how it went away. And it opens up a real can of worms. And John Elder and Dean Martin, and I'll tell you what, Dean Martin playing Tom Elder in this is just as good an acting role as you're ever going to see. I've told you before that I kind of like Dean Martin, and I mentioned him in a movie called Five Card Stud. Well, this one is every bit as good as that. Tom Elder, the character played by Dean Martin, is just outstanding in this feature film. And it's something you really enjoy. You'll see a lot of people you know in this. Dennis Hopper, Paul Fix, George Kennedy. He plays a really mean, nasty guy. And of course, George Kennedy was good at playing nasty people on film. I understand after this film was... about the time this film was done, it was right after John Wayne, I believe, had lung surgery. And they're filming a scene where he gets wet and gets in the water. And my understanding is that what you hear from John Wayne there when he's in this scene, he isn't really faking it when he kind of screams or kind of moans a little bit. It's a man who just had lung surgery, and the high altitude and the strain from the activity that he was doing was hard on John Wayne, who was only had one lung at this point. And this is just a great film. The Sons of Katie Elder, film of redemption and brutality and vengeance, and it's just well worth your time. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. The Sons of Katie Elder. If you've never seen it, then you need to, because this is just a great film. You will love. You'll love Earl Holliman in this, and Dean Martin and John Wayne. They play brothers, and they're just exceptional. Just a great film, and it's one you ought to check out if you haven't seen it already. The last film I'm going to present to you today is from 1992, another more recent picture, and it's called A River Runs Through It. This film was directed by Robert Redford, who just passed away just a few months ago. Tom Skerritt in this film plays Reverend McLean, who is the preacher, Presbyterian father of Paul McLean and Norman McLean in this film, and he loves fly fishing, and he's taught that love and passed that love along to his children, and you see it in this film, and they've come to appreciate the sport and the art of fly fishing. I mean, that's their means of entertainment. That's almost their whole life when they aren't doing something else. I mean, their entertainment, their recreation, all of it involves around fly fishing. It's just a great film. Short. This film is supposed to take place in Missoula, Montana. And I had the opportunity just a few years ago to go to Missoula, Montana, and it is beautiful. Just a beautiful landscape and country land. And this film is supposed to take place there in the streams, trout fishing around Montana. And I'll tell you what, it's just an absolutely beautiful film. The scenery and the cinematography is just superb in this film. And it would not be a Western in the traditional sense, but I believe it's a Western. And just a river runs through it. It's just an excellent film. This film takes place, and much of it occurs during the Prohibition era in this country. If you love trout fishing, if you love beautiful scenery, if you love just country that goes on forever, and anything involving the big sky country of Montana, you would just love this film. Montana would have to be one of my favorite states that I've ever visited. And it's an outstanding just beauty and just that goes on forever. But this film winds up being pretty serious, and the film starts and ends pretty much trout fishing, and it's just a great film. And if you love to trout fish, if you just love, or you love beautiful country, or you just seen pictures of Montana and you want to go there, I mean, this is the kind of film that makes you want to pack up your clothes and pack up your kids and your wife and move to Montana. It's just that good a film, and the country's just that beautiful. And I loved it when I was out there. It was one of the great joys of my life, getting to see Montana. And I truly loved it. And I was blessed to be able to take my dad out to Montana with me one time before he was killed. And Montana has a special place in my heart, and always will. And I love that. I love this film. I love the trout fishing that's involved, the pure art, and it isn't even science, it's art of fly fishing. It's just beautiful to watch somebody that knows what he's doing with it. This film completely revolves around fly fishing, and it's just well worth your time. And it's just an outstanding film. And that was my number 40 this week. So my top 50 films, and today I visited 36 through 40. Number 36 is from 1953, and that's a film called Shane, starring Alan Ladd. Number 37 was from 1959, and it's Last Train from Gun Hill, starring Kirk Douglas. Number 38 was from 2017, and it's a film, Wind River, starring Jeremy Renner. Number 39 is from 1965. It's The Sons of Katie Elder, starring John Wayne and Dean Martin. And number 40 is from 1992. A River Runs Through It, by Brad Pitt, starring Brad Pitt and Craig Sheffer. Anyway, that is my top 50 greatest Western films of all time, 36 through 40. And I thank you for stopping in this week. I'll catch you again soon. Bye now.